Well, hello there, and welcome to the Trending Now podcast for a Friday, March the 10th, 2023, episode 4 of the Trending Now podcast, which, of course, is the official show of Trending Now, which you can catch every Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. on CHCH and on online and on our YouTube page and across social media. Thanks for joining us. However you found us here on the Trending Now podcast, we appreciate it. Maybe tell a friend, maybe tell 2 friends. And always remember to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode of this show. Lots to get to on today's show. As it always is, it was a busy week, and we'll recap some of the biggest stories of the past 7 days. As always, we'll be joined by host Kelly Patello, filling in for Nicole Martin. We'll check in with Manesa Laura. She's the reporter this week, and Laura Sebin is the producer of Trending Now. All three will be stopping by at some point during today's show. But let's get right to it. Let's get right to the week that was. And let's start with the slap heard round the world, the sequel.
I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
Yeah, we're talking about Chris Rock, Will Smith. The slap goes back almost a year to the day at the Oscars when Will Smith, we all remember it, walked up and slapped Chris Rock. Well, Chris Rock released a live Netflix stand-up special over the weekend, and based on the title of the show, Selective Outrage, you knew that he was going to be talking about it. It did take a long time for him to get to it, but he brought up that slap, saying that Will Smith took his anger out on him. Rock brought up Jada Pinkett Smith's show, Red Table Talk, and specifically the episode when she admitted that to her husband that she had an affair with another man.
Y'all know what happened to me. Getting smacked by Suge Smith, and people like, did it hurt? It still hurts. I got Summertime ringing in my ears. And his wife was her son's friend. We all been cheated on. Everybody in here been cheated on. None of us have ever been interviewed by the person that cheated on us on television. She hurt him way more than he hurt me.
Rock added that he reached out to Smith to give him his condolences when it happened and that he didn't answer. And he claims things haven't been good between him and the Smiths since the 2016 Oscars. And that was when Jada told Chris Rock, to quit instead of hosting because of the lack of diversity in the nominations. Of course, she also thought that her husband, Will Smith, should have been nominated for concussion. And we'll get to that in just a second. There's been a mix of reaction about this. We'll get into it with Manesa Laura coming up. She was on top of this story all week. But some updates to this. There have been edits made. Netflix has edited the live performance, edited one of the less than smooth jokes. During one of the jokes, he had mispronounced a movie that Will Smith was in, which is, it's going to happen. I make mistakes. I'm not perfect, believe it or not. I'm not perfect. But they're editing out one of the Will Smith jokes, and Will Smith himself apparently did not watch it. According to Entertainment Tonight, a source told them that Will is so upset that Netflix was a part of this and thinks Chris insulting Jada again is below the belt. And he is upset that Netflix gave Chris the platform to share these messages and thinks it's distasteful. I'll admit it, I have not watched it. I don't think I've watched a Chris Rock comedy special in some time. Maybe I should. But again, we'll get into more of that with Manesa Laura coming up later on in the show. Also this week, the Justin Trudeau China interference election saga continues.
Even if it didn't change the results of any of our elections, any interference attempt by any foreign actor is troubling and serious.
As the Prime Minister has asked 2 key security watchdogs to probe foreign interference, the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians will launch a new study on foreign interference focused on elections. Meanwhile, the National Security and Intelligence Review Agency will look at the work Canada's intelligence agencies have done on foreign interference. He's also going to appoint a Special Rapporteur to independently review their work to ensure there are no gaps.
In the coming days, we will appoint an eminent Canadian to the position of independent Special Rapporteur, who will have a wide mandate to make expert recommendations on protecting and enhancing Canadians' faith in our democracy.
This all comes with the recent media reports that China attempted to interfere in the 2021 campaign to help the Liberals win a minority government. Canada's official opposition, Pierre Poilievre, he says this isn't doing enough.
Why do we need a special rapporteur? What does this rapporteur even do? It sounds like a fake job. We need someone who actually has a real work plan. And what we said is we need an independent and open investigation headed by someone approved by all parties.
He says that that Trudeau is just gonna pick someone who's close to him or the government, and that it's gonna be an easy investigation. To push back, Trudeau says that he's open to suggestions for the role. Meanwhile, the Conservatives, NDP, and Bloc Québécois continue to push for an independent public inquiry into the interference, but experts have cautioned that a public inquiry may not yield the desired result because national security concerns could prevent officials from revealing much information. So, again, one of those stories that we're going to have to keep our eye on. It's not going away anytime soon, and we'll be joined with Kelly Patel. We'll talk more about that coming up later on. Also this week, again, something we've been following. Last week we were talking about the Dominion lawsuit against Fox News. Now it's Tucker Carlson, the most watched show in cable in the United States. The most watched show, Tucker Carlson Tonight. It's the most popular show on cable in the U.S. And this week, he aired carefully cut clips that attempt to make the attack on the Capitol on January 6th make it look like it was just a tour. In fact, that's what he said. As if being given a tour.
So the tape we showed last night indicated very clearly that Capitol Hill police, in some cases, escorted protesters through the Capitol as if they were giving a tour. They did that with Jacob Chansley, the so-called QAnon shaman. The video I showed you last night also showed that Officer Brian Sicknick was not beaten to death with a fire extinguisher by protesters on January 6th, as the media and Liz Cheney so often claimed. The video shows Sicknick walking around the building, apparently in good health, after he was supposedly killed.
Meanwhile, we all watched January 6th. It was broadcast live. I was walking my dog that day, headphones in, using all my streaming data to watch the speech on the ellipses that led to the eventual riots at the Capitol. But meanwhile, Tucker Carlson, he says we don't believe what we saw, is basically what he's saying. Fox News was actually given the surveillance footage from that day from U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. And Kevin McCarthy is standing by it. He says he hasn't watched it, but he's standing by it. The one thing that gets me about this story, and I'm sure we'll get into it, is what Tucker Carlson is saying behind the scenes and what he goes on camera and actually says to his audience, which, again, I'm reminding you, is the most watched show on cable television in the U.S. I don't know. He's going on camera saying one thing, in private text messages is saying another. I just want to pull up a couple of the text messages that he has said. And again, this isn't getting, bipartisan support by any sense. Mitch McConnell, the minority leader in the Senate, also a Republican. He's saying that he doesn't agree with it. I mean, he's not really doing anything to stop it, but he says he doesn't agree with it. I do want to get to some Tucker Carlson clips here. Not clips. I don't want to hear his voice. No offense. I just don't want to hear his voice. It is really him and his producer. They've released all these texts as part of the Dominion lawsuit. He says Trump is only good at destroying. He's playing with fire. I keep hearing that so bad. I really want to ignore that. There's critical clips of Rudy Giuliani. And this is the kind of the most damning one, I would say. This is Trump's final weeks in office. This is January 4th, 2 days before the tour, and you can't see me, but you might be able to, but I'm doing air quotes, the tour that was led through January 6th. This was on January 4th, 2021, 2 days before that. Quote, "We are very, very close to being able to ignore Trump most nights. I truly can't wait." And then his producer says, "I want nothing more. It does feel very close. I imagine things will get nice starting around mid-February." And then Tucker Carlson comes back in a private text message. You know, you say what you want in private, but he says, "I hate him passionately. I blew up at Peter Navarro," who was one of Trump's lackeys, for lack of a better word, blew up at Peter Navarro today in frustration. "I actually like Peter, but I can't handle much more of this." And he said, that's the last 4 years. We're all pretending we've got a lot to show for it because admitting what a disaster it's been is too tough to digest. But come on, there isn't really an upside to Trump. That is what Tucker Carlson says in private about Donald Trump. And then he goes on TV. And again, I'm reiterating this point. This is the most watched show on cable in America. And he's saying another thing. I don't get it. I'll try to make sense of it as this story develops. But again, Fox being sued for $1.6 billion. And depending on who you ask, the Dominion lawsuit is not going well for Fox News. But their ratings have gone up, I've heard. So I don't know. Maybe it pays to lie if you're Fox News. Another big story today, this week, was the grocery CEOs testifying in Parliament, including everybody's favorite pitchman, Galen Weston Jr. He is the CEO of Loblaw Companies. Of course, this family has been handed down to him from generation to generation. And he says that his grocery store chains, which include Fortino's, obviously Loblaws, Zehrs for all my Niagara listeners. What else do they have? Real Canadian Superstore. All these stores under the Loblaw chain. And he says they're not actually making that much money.
Unexpected as it may sound, grocery chains operate with extremely small profit margins, which means we have minimal influence on inflation. On a customer's $25 grocery basket, we earn just $1 in profit.
He's worth $8.7 billion. I find it hard to believe that they're not making that much money when his estimated worth is $8.7 billion. He stayed consistent. He was grilled. Jagmeet Singh really promoted this. He was all over it. He came in with a stack of paper about 5,000 pages long.
We look at our numbers very, very closely all the time. And I would just reiterate that our profit is $1 on a $25 basket of groceries. And if we invested 100% of our profits into lower prices, the price of a grocery basket would still be $24.
Okay. Also testifying was executives from Metro and Empire. Empire owns Sobeys. And all three insisted that food price inflation is not caused by profit mongering. What else were they going to say? Were they going to go on and admit that you're right, we're price gouging you? Nothing you can do about it. I mean, they could have, because what are you going to do? Not buy groceries? But Weston said specifically that Loblaw companies made bigger profits off financial services, apparel, and pharmacy sales, which he said represents over half of its business. And the executives say that food inflation is a global issue, stressing the fact that other countries have it worse. Oh, there you go. Other countries have it worse than we do here. Kelly was joined by Sylvain Charbois to discuss the issue further, and Kelly asked whether Canadians should be skeptical or whether these guys were telling the truth.
Well, it was sincere, but Canadians will still be will remain skeptical because the issue was politicized a little bit. There was some political theater, but it was actually better than I expected. As an observer, I did get some good information out of the session overall. Most importantly, I think all CEOs were clear in terms of how they supported the code of conduct, this project to lessen the power of grocers and give a chance to independent grocers to survive and give more choices and option to consumers. So increase competition essentially, and so that's certainly a plus. Other than that, there were some misses. There were some questions I would have asked, but it was actually a little bit better than I expected. It was clear to me that Michael Medline, the CEO of Sobeys, supports the code, while Loblaw and Metro don't really. I mean, it's you can feel that they weren't very supportive of the code. They had conditions, and so they didn't fully endorse the code, and they were asked several times. And so that's certainly that should be a concern to all Canadians. But like I said, most Canadians don't understand supply chain economics. They don't understand balance sheets, and they don't understand the code.
If grocery executives aren't the ones driving up prices, who is doing this and for what reason?
It's a global phenomena. So Canada still has one of the lowest food inflation rates in the world. It's number 3 within the G7 after the US and Japan. So it's a global phenomena. So it's a bit simplistic to only point figures at one sector or one company. It's Every company is hurting, from farm gate to plate. It's not just about grocers. Well, if you look at dairy, for example, dairy is now getting 14% more for milk compared to last year. Why? Because costs have gone up. And so dairy farmers are getting more than what food inflation is indicating. So it tells you a lot about pressure points across the supply chain. I think there are 3 factors. Climate change is one. That's a constant. It's always going to be there. Ukraine was a big one for a long time. Now things are calming down, and supply chain still hurting, still inefficient, and it's problematic.
Do you think food prices will ever come down again, or is this our new normal?
There's a new baseline. Wages have gone up. We've seen several companies negotiate new collective agreements with wage increases of 11% a year. Someone has to pay for that. And so that's why that new baseline is just making things more expensive across the board. So we are hoping that the food inflation rate will drop, but not food prices. I think it'd be delusional to think that prices will drop at the grocery store. They just won't.
That was Sylvain Charlebois from Dalhousie University. He is a food policy professor, as he joined Kelly earlier this week on Trending Now. And joining me now on Trending Now, the podcast, is Manesa Laura, the reporter this week. And Manesa, Chris Rock, go. You got a lot to say. You got a lot to say about this.
God. Let's just start. Get comfy.
Yeah, okay, here you go.
Well, I think all of us were, the second that came out, personally what I did is I was forwarding through it because I just wanted to see the shots that he took. Yeah. And I had to wait all the way till the end to actually see it. But I was caught off guard because he was quiet all these days. And Will Smith did put out a video that he did reach out to him, and Chris Rock asked for time, which is understandable, right? Like, I mean, getting slapped on stage is a lot, right? But
at the Oscars.
At the Oscars. Like, it's not even like outside going for a walk and you get slapped by somebody, you could just walk it off. Like,
from a guy who, wait, does that happen to you?
No.
Wait, does that happen? Like, do people just get randomly slapped as they walk to? Yeah, I just shake it off. Yeah, what happened? Somebody slapped me as I was walking my dog. What'd you do? I just kept walking. I walked it off. It wasn't at the Oscars, so I was able to get over it, no problem. But like, Will Smith also went on to win the big prize of the night, the Oscar, which a little tidbit: the best actor usually presents the best actress the next year. Clearly, Will Smith, who is now banned from the Oscars for 10 years, won't be able to do that. Okay, so you were saying It's not like he was just randomly slapped. So go ahead, go from there.
Right? Like, I understand if Chris Rock is upset with Will Smith, right? Like, that makes sense. But just the shots that he took at Jada was way too far. Yeah. Because she didn't slap him. I mean, like, you guys have your differences, that's okay, but to go on stage and do that when she didn't say anything to him, she didn't slap him, and she got a lot of those comments thrown at her.
My thing is, like, the reason you got slapped, and we heard the clip, and it's ingrained in pop culture lore, keep my wife's name out your mouth, right? And what does he do? He goes and does this 5-10 minute bit about his wife, right? And my thing is, like, Chris Rock, you can't play the victim anymore. Maybe you never intended to play the victim, but you can't be all hurt and sad and not accept Chris Rock's apology or Will Smith's apology earlier on. And I need to think about it. So what? You can write some more jokes about it? Like, no, I don't know who the victim is here. Will Smith should not have walked on the stage. Is Jada Pinkett Smith the victim?
I think she's 100% the victim at this point. And, like, honestly, it's just like, okay, if he said, keep my wife's name out your mouth, and then he went on stage and did that again. The amount of comments on Twitter, did you see how many people were like, oh, quote unquote, he should get slapped again? Like, it's crazy.
But the thing was that, so Rock brought up Jada Pinkett Smith's show, and she's very open about a lot of things on Red Table Talk, including bringing her husband on to say, yeah, no, I hooked up with our son's friend. Like, they live this life, and that's the one thing about celebrity culture I don't think I'll ever get, is balancing that of, like, I need to be a personality, but also, like, don't you want some privacy? Shouldn't you keep something private?
See, that's the thing. Like, I just feel like, but, like, it's also one of those things, would it stay private even if they didn't talk about it? You know, because
so she's owning the message.
Right? Like, I guess maybe, I don't know. I could be very wrong about this, but maybe it's one of those things where they were like, hey, this is our family. We're going to deal with it. We'll just deal with it publicly so that nobody else is talking about it. And it's a life that you get with being a celebrity. It's, you don't ever get privacy. I mean, how do you live with that?
I would never, I never have to worry about that. Luckily, I'll never have to worry about it. TikTok. What was the news this week? People do not trust TikTok. People don't trust Facebook. People don't trust Twitter. Where does this lack of trust come from with our social media apps?
From when I spoke to, I thought I just did you see that?
Yeah, I don't know what you did, but it's an IFB. The light comes on and off sometimes. That's how we hear back.
No, it wasn't that. Never mind.
I don't know what you saw.
I thought it just spat.
Oh, did you? Oh, that's disgusting. Jeez.
Where are those? I saw
like,
it go up in the air, and I was like, "Oh my gosh! I hope it didn't land on him."
Okay, we're gonna get them up.
I thought you saw it. That's what you said.
I did not. Why? How does that?
Okay, TikTok. Let's go back to that. That past 2 minutes didn't happen.
TikTok. People don't trust it. People don't trust social media.
But they're still using it. I mean, their growth has gone up.
Yeah.
But just people don't trust it. I mean, isn't
that... Do you trust social media? It's about who you follow.
I mean...
It's about what you choose to click on.
And it's also... Yeah, and I also feel like it's what you say, right? Like, it's just how you use it. Like, if you use things responsibly, I feel like you should be fine. I mean, don't put stuff that's you want to be private on that. Like... It's with anything, right?
Yeah. It's one of those things that, like, I use Twitter. I had a TikTok, and then I realized I was wasting so much time. And even Facebook. Facebook's just like a family thing at this point, I feel. Like, most of my Facebook friends are family members. So when I do post something, it's like, your mom liked it. Your aunt liked it. Your old high school teacher liked it. Like, I don't use social media. Well, I use Twitter, obviously, to get news. But I don't know. Do you trust it?
Can I just, like, say one thing real quick?
Why not?
Do you remember when the biggest deal was, like, MSN Messenger? And when your crush would log on after school and, like, ask you for, like, homework help and stuff. And it's like, oh, my God. Like, and exchanging Hotmail information was, like, like the biggest deal back then.
That is a blast from the past. Or like logging in and then logging out so they know that you're on. Like, so they saw, like, oh my gosh, they saw that I'm on. I would see if they, and you could change like your little, so like your little like first like girlfriend or boyfriend, it was like, oh yeah, heart, like their initials and like your status or whatever. MSN Messenger. That is not something I've thought of.
And changing the icons, like all the cool kids used to always put it as a way. So even though you well know they were sitting there and ready to talk to you, but like
Laura and I were talking about this last week as like our generation of people. So like, you know, that I would like 85 to 95. If you were born in that window, you know, 87, 90, whatever it is, there's a 10-year gap where you grew up with the internet. Like you were coming home from school at 13, checking on your MSN Messenger while downloading something on LimeWire. Like we grew up with the internet. Do you think about how that's shaped us as a generation almost?
Yes, because my older sisters, they didn't have that luxury that I had. So I didn't struggle the same way. When I had to do assignments online and stuff, like it was easy because they were able to teach me. But my sister just sat there, and like my parents are immigrants, right? So it's a challenge to kind of grow up when you don't necessarily like, they want to teach you things, but they can teach you other things, not necessarily some things that would be helpful here. Yeah. So she had to like teach herself how to use.
Yeah. And you got Google.com. Tell me how to do my homework. The question that everyone has been asking me this week: how did Manesa do at Bed Bath & Beyond?
It is a disappointing news, and I'm going to tell you. So my sister and I went to Bed Bath & Beyond all ready to go get our supplies, and the sales were just not that great yet. They haven't hit that point.
Point of desperation where they're trying to recoup as much losses as they can.
So we came home, our hands empty, but we got mini donuts instead. So it's all good. Yeah.
There is something to be said. We were talking about this before we came on, that like when Zellers closed, when Target closed, like there is like a pall of like disappointment. Sears, like there's like a sadness in the building, right? Like, oh, like you don't ask for help because everybody's sad. Like these people are about to, and like there's a serious aspect of it.
It's so
like
depressing.
These people are about to lose their job. They know it, and like we're coming in and scavenging for like, oh, I'm not buying these bed sheets until they're 50% off.
I vividly remember going to Sears and like looking at the floor, and it was carpets, right? And like it was all stained everywhere, and I'm like, wow, this is how it feels to let go.
Manesa, always appreciate it. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much, Louie.
I gotta clean your spit here now, so thank you.
Don't slip on it.
Oh, okay. Get out of here. Hi, my thanks to Manesa Dana Ballin for joining me, and now very pleased to be joined by the host this week, Kelly Patello. Kelly.
Hey.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. How's the week?
Good.
Yeah.
I feel like every time we do this podcast, it's like a crazy snowstorm outside.
Right?
Yeah.
Last time I got to leave. I snuck out early, finished the podcast. I told you I was going up to Guelph, and I got to my friend's house, and they were ready to celebrate my birthday. Like,
yeah.
Let's go. And I'm like, I got to finish this. So it's like me working away at my laptop. There's like a little party going on behind me. I'm like, guys, I got to finish this. Today, not so lucky. Here, surviving the snowstorm. And by the way, doing sports tonight, too. So,
yeah, awesome.
Yeah, full day.
Yeah.
Full fun day. This week, the grocery CEOs testified. Jagmeet Singh, leader of the NDP, was very excited to finally get these guys in front of committee, in front of Parliament. They didn't really say much, did they?
I think Galen Weston, the CEO of Loblaw, said the same thing over and over and over again. And he was basically just saying, on a $25 grocery basket, we make $1. And he said that, he answered that to almost like every single question. Yeah. So obviously really frustrating and annoying.
$8.7 billion American. So what's that Canadian? $12 billion?
Oh, man, that's a lot of money.
It's hard for me, and I get it's part of the job, but it's hard for me to watch these people who have no human touch almost to say. Like they haven't gone to basics instead of Fortinos because Fortinos is just too expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there is a lack of humanity sometimes, it feels like, when you're dealing with these guys, these people who are making billions, who are worth billions, try to explain to us that it's not our fault your food's that expensive.
Yeah. Oh, so we don't even make that much money off of you guys. Yeah, right. You're a billionaire for a reason. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's what I felt like screaming at the TV. Like, how are you one of the richest families in Canada? Obviously, you're making crazy profits. Yeah. And obviously, it's regular, hardworking, everyday Canadians that are making you rich.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's a corporation. That's the whole business model of, running a business is you need to make money.
Yeah.
However, there's has to be some ethics when it comes to food and how expensive it is right now.
It is ridiculous, and it's at the point where, like, we were talking about this a couple episodes ago, where you have to check the flyers, you have to find the deals, you have to get something, or you have to not get something that you want because it's just out of my price range.
And I just don't understand as well. Like, he was sitting there saying, we make $1 off of $25 of groceries. Well, if you go to No Frills and you see a head of lettuce on for $3.99, and then you go to Fortino's and the same head of lettuce is $6.99, you're trying to tell me that you're not playing with prices a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work?
Well, they'll say that, when you go to Fortino's, there's more frills, there's more employees, there's more fresh food, there's higher overhead.
We get a better grade of produce or whatever they say.
Other thing
too.
I mean, which is so insulting to people who shop. Like, I shop at Basics. I treat when I go to Fortino's, it's a treat, right? Like, oh, Fortino's. Like, I'm a Basics guy, no frills, but like
feels bougie.
Yeah, even Farm Boy. I found myself, because Farm Boy's owned by Empire, which owns Sobeys too.
Yeah, you're right.
So they also testified, and I can get a 3-pack of the Andy Boy lettuce. And it's a better quality at Farm Boy, which is so insulting to shop at Basics and get, here's the leftover stuff. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, it's, it's just gone too far. And I spoke with a food policy professor about it. And I asked him, I said, okay, so when I guess our economy corrects itself, our food price is going to go down. And he's like, no, this is our new normal. Yeah. Food prices will never go down, even if the things that are making food expensive now correct themselves. Yeah. And why would they go down? We're already used to paying this price, so it's just so infuriating.
And then you got the no-name stuff where, like, we're going to freeze our no-name prices for 3 months to help you out. And then they this was such a great deal for us. Everybody's buying no-name. It's like, so you made profit off the thing you said you weren't going to profit off of. The other big story, and I kind of went on a little rant about this, Tucker Carlson and what he says in private versus what he goes on and says every day on TV. Like, listen, I get it. You and I are on television. We write, we read what's on the screen. Tucker Carlson does this at such a mind-boggling level, in which he goes on and he performs. I'm just asking questions. He's a high-pitched voice, and talk about Galen Weston's net worth. Tucker Carlson claims to be an everyday guy. The guy's worth billions. He's an heir to the Swanson family food, whatever. It's frustrating that this guy is so well watched on television when it just seems like he's lying to his viewers.
Yeah. And you know what? We wouldn't know any of this if it wasn't for this lawsuit that's going on right now. And this is how all of these things are coming about, all these personal texts that we're seeing from him saying, I actually hate Donald Trump. I think he called him evil or
disgusting.
Yeah, disgusting. And then, he's Trump's number one supporter on TV, which is so bizarre because, of course, they're playing to their audience. Yeah. Of course, he's not going to go on and say, I hate Donald Trump on TV, because there would be a big issue with that, especially on Fox News. So
there's, like, if he's performing, like if he's playing a character, like, which I think he is. Like, I think he is playing this character on television that is a character that's getting him paid $10 million a year or whatever his contract is at Fox. And then he can, turn off the camera and say whatever he wants.
Yeah, he also, him and some of his coworkers were texting back, a few years ago saying, Biden won this election fair and square. And, a bunch of them were on TV kind of adding fuel to this fire. That it wasn't fair and square.
Well, the thing is, you mentioned in your report this week about the police officer that was killed, Brian Sicknick, and how he didn't die because of the riot. He died a day after. But like, He died of natural causes. His family's coming out and saying, please stop talking about our son. And then he doubles down the next day. It's just, it's so ingenuine that it's so frustrating to watch. And I don't watch, but it comes up on your feed.
I mean,
and like,
it's been trending like all week.
And
because it's been such a big topic.
Yeah, and he is the number one watch show on cable. I've said that a couple times, but it's true. Like, a lot of Americans are watching this thinking it's news, when clearly it's not. When you're nitpicking 6-second clips of somebody putting a flag upright, but you're not showing them, with that metal fence trying to go against the police officers. Like I said, I watched January 6th live as it happened, as like somebody who watches the news. It was ridiculous. Finish up with a lighter note. What are you doing this weekend?
I have a birthday party to go to.
Oh, fun.
My best friend's little guy's turning 1. Or he did turn 1 earlier this week. So we have his birthday party. And also, my sister-in-law has a bit of an engagement party this weekend as well. So it's actually going to be a very busy Saturday for me.
All right. Well, hopefully you don't have to do too much shoveling. But we'll let you dig out of your parking spot here because a lot of snow since we've just gotten here. Kelly, always appreciate you stopping by. Thank you.
Thanks, Louie. See ya.
And my thanks to Kelly Patello, the host of Trending Now, filling in for Nicole Martin. And very pleased now to be joined by Laura Sebin. She's the producer of Trending Now.
Hello.
Sebs, what's up?
Not much. It's a Friday, a chill Friday, so I'm happy.
It is not a chill Friday. Have you looked outside the window?
Inside it's chill.
Our friend Phil Perkins needed a ride from the bus station today.
He did.
And I stepped up and did it.
Well, he's the reason I'm here. I could have worked from home today, but I was like, Phil's going away party tonight. So
no, which I was really excited attending, and now I'm doing sports.
Rug pulled out from under you.
Yeah, that happens. That happens in this business. I'm just gonna, grin and just nod my head and be like, yeah, okay,
yeah,
all right,
okay.
that's the way it works. Plus, it's better than not having a job.
Exactly.
F1 kicked off their season. We were talking to you about this last week.
Yes.
I remember that I was doing sports on Sunday. Another year, another win.
Yeah, for Max.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I feel like not many F1 fans love Max.
Because of the way he came off in Drive to Survive?
Yeah, and you know what? It's just how he, not even just Drive to Survive. Like, when you hear the radio, the team radio, like, he's kind of a little bit of a brat is, I think, the best way I would describe it. He doesn't really have any team friendliness, it seems. Like, he doesn't want to help out his teammate. It's just all about Max and Max 24/7. And you know what? If he's the best driver in F1 right now, he's the best driver in F1 right now. You can't complain about that. But my only thing is I wish, like, it wasn't just like Max flies away and nobody gets near him.
It wasn't even close.
That makes it boring.
He won the pole, which is the top qualifying spot on the Saturday for. So how it works? Friday is practice.
Fridays you do like 2 or 3 practices on the Friday.
You get a feel of the course. Saturday is qualifying. You find out where you're going to start the race. How important is it in qualifying? Like how many times do people jump from 12th to 1st from qualifying to like are you out of it by Saturday if things don't go right in F1?
Not necessarily, because you never know what's going to happen to your car, to your competitor's car, what the conditions are going to be like on race day. Like, a lot of it is up in the air, but for the most part the top pole positions are where you want to be, because that's where you're going to compete. But basically Checo made it so that Max could clear that first corner and he was gone. Yeah. And I kind of talked about this with Bubba this week, but it makes it boring. Like, you want to see the drivers like fighting, kind of.
I was about to say, how much of the team element in F1 is part of it? There's two cars per team. How much of it is, Perez it's Perez's job to let Verstappen win?
Well, you're always going to have that on a team. Naturally, well, I guess not always, but there usually is one better driver on the team. And unfortunately for Red Bull, Max is the better driver. And if you just know you can't get there in the race, then why not try and help your team? Because it gives you more money for them to work on your car, and then also you get to be the team that might be the one who wins the Constructors' Championship or whatnot by the end of the season.
Perez finished, his teammate finished 12 seconds behind. Yeah. The next closest was Fernando Alonso, which is a great story in itself.
It really was. I think that was like a big shock.
He was pumped.
He was.
You saw him after the race. I mean, he was more excited to finish third than Max Verstappen was to win the race.
Well, yeah, because I bet Max had a super boring race because he was just out there alone the whole time. And
you see that Ricky Bobby where he's drinking tea or something? Like, that's what I'm picturing, yeah.
Yeah, and Max even himself said it was boring because part of the reason you get into F1 is for the adrenaline and the high octane fun of it, and it takes it away when you're just like imagine going with your friends to a go-kart race and you're just driving alone out there. Like that's what I feel like it would feel like. But yeah, no, Aston Martin came out this weekend and they're officially, I would even go as far to say maybe even the second fastest car on the grid. Like Ferrari stayed up there, but once Fernando Alonso caught up with Sainz, he had nothing on him. So it's going to be interesting.
The Aston Martin in Formula One is pretty interesting from a local perspective, Canadian-wise, because Lance Stroll, who's been on the circuit now for a few years, I mean, we're talking Nepo babies here. Because
we are talking Nepo
Lawrence
babies.
Stroll is the chairman of the Aston Martin. He's also president of Aston Martin. He's got some role with the actual car company. He's his father. But good story. Lance Stroll finishing 6th. That's a pretty good finish to start the year.
Which just goes to show you how fast the Aston Martin car is this year, because it's not like Lance is a bad driver. He's not the best on the grid, but to be on the grid, you have to be good at some capacity. But he's never been that high. And his wrists from the bike accident. He's still not fully healed. Like, he couldn't even get himself out of the car alone on Saturday, which is a whole other safety concern.
Like elbows up. Like, you have to prove you can get out of your car yourself, though, right? In case of a fire.
Which is why a lot of people were like, is he going to be allowed to race on Sunday? And we're a little bit concerned when they said that he was. But yeah, so to not even be at full strength for like the most important part, which is the steering and maintaining control of the car, it just goes to show you how fast the car is.
We talked about it on last Friday, going into the first race. Now we're talking. So I watched. My favorite part is there's this one guy before the race who's literally just walking around with a microphone and a camera. He's like, "Follow me," and he's just doing interviews. The pit lane guy. I don't know his name.
I remember what his name is. He's British.
Great.
He's hilarious.
I've seen clips, like, speaking of trending now, you see clips that start trending where he completely like shoots by someone who's like super famous to talk to someone who's not famous at all.
Yeah, he'll be like, "Excuse me, get out of my way. I have to talk to this person."
This week's race, I believe, is in, I know this because I have the laptop in front of me, Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Practice rounds are, that's next week. There's no race this week.
What?
Yeah, there you go. I'm giving you news.
I'm such a good F1 fan.
I'm
such a good F1 fan.
Appreciate you doing this. Thanks for doing this. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Louie.
All right, this has been the Trending Now podcast. My thanks to Laura Sebin. My thanks to Kelly Botello. My thanks to Manesa Dana Bolin. And my thanks to you. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And check out Trending Now wherever you are on social media. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok.
Not Facebook.
Not Facebook. All right. TikTok, Twitter. Check it out. Trending Now. And make sure, to like, subscribe so you never miss an episode. Trending Now is back on Monday. I will be back next Friday for Trending Now, the podcast. Thanks for checking us out on CHCH.